hanging out in the conversation here. We are setting up a recording right now with Michael Buzinski, Buzz, as we refer to him affectionately. And this is pre-recording for Sales Team Ready podcast. It will be being produced and brought to you later, but we thought we'd invite you into just an organic conversation that we are having. And we've already had a lot of cool conversation. We just did not hit record. So you guys will have to wonder what the hell that was about. And
It's
that's all
it's
good.
like having that conversation in the green room that, you see like folks talk about, and then the host and the guest are all talking about their conversation in the green room. You'll
Yes,
never know.
exactly. It's called an inside conversation because you're outside of it. Anyway, here we are. We'll be dropping the a formal introduction later. But Buzz, just take a quick minute and introduce yourself to people watching.
Well, I'm just a farm boy from North California.
Yeah.
Most people would not believe that I actually I wrangled sheep and horses in a little town called Chico, California, not too far from where you live now. When I was a little kid, yeah, the farm boy turned musician, turned veteran, turned studio owner, turned marketer, turned growth strategist now, and living in Virginia. Been doing this now for 20 years with Buzzworthy, and we work with founder led B2B service based firms, and we help them become founder free through solving for random acts of marketing.
Amen. And that is what's really brought us together here is, Buzz and I have known each other for a decade. And we met in a mastermind years ago, and we have been running parallel, serving similar audience, similar size companies. Our companies have been growing similarly on a trajectory, and we have now come together to where we start some intersections where they're doing the traffic, they're generating the leads, the marketing, and we're converting on the back end. And so building fully optimized systems to take people from hello to conversion and beyond,
And
and
beyond.
and do it at a very powerful, extremely effective level. He's got an amazing team, and a lot of wisdom to be able to carry. And so, just wanted to have some conversation with you all so you can get to know him, what he's about, and we talk a little bit of sales tactic and strategy. But more of this is just like, what things do people need to be thinking about? What do we need? What's coming? What do people need to be aware of as we're diving into 2026 as fast as things are moving?
Jeez Louise. It was just 6 months ago when SEO, search engine optimization, of those who were, worried about organic inbound, and all of a sudden, they're like, well, where did all of our searches go? And they're like, oh yeah, they're over there on a chat bot. That was just 6, 7 months ago. And
Yeah.
we're already talking about agentic shopping, where
Yes.
people can just go in there and say, I'm looking for a blue patent leather shoes in a size 9.5 wide with a white trim and blah, 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 blah. And the AI is going to sit there going, oh, yeah, you can get that on sale at this place right here. Would you like me to make that happen for you? Of course I would. And then they make the purchase and it shows up at your door. Like, that's how fast things are moving.
It is ridiculous. And so you have to have your marketing set up to support that. And we've been doing a ton of research here. We're on a mission. My goal literally in 2026 is I want to get our positioning, our messaging so clean that all we have to do is when you say, hey, what do you guys do? We just hold up a picture, and the picture is the thousand words, and
There
it
it
moves
is.
you forward. And
Love
that
it.
requires understanding so clearly and effectively what kind of messaging do you need to put in place so that the words, every word matters, but that you're delivering an experience through your communication, not selling a product.
And I
And
also think that it's so much more important in marketing now, that we understand who we serve and how we serve them. I've got an acronym, I call it Focus Focus. If you don't understand your focus, you are going to lose in 2026. And Focus Focus stands for fix one clearly urgent struggle for one clearly unique stakeholder. If you can't describe that in 1 to 2 sentences, chatbots are going to lose you.
Right.
And that's where people are getting their information, regardless of their intent. Right now, most people are using chatbots for their informational research space. By the middle of this year, it's going to be the full Monty. And if you're not in the conversation with that chatbot at the research level, you're not going to be in the picture when it comes to the commercial side of things, when they're going, oh, so who do I go to solve that problem? And I also think that the competition is getting much more fierce. And you remember when people used to say the reaches are in the niches, or the riches are in the niches, however you want to say it. And now, and for a minute, I would probably say in the mid 2000 teens, when at the height of like Facebook meta ads and stuff like that, where you could just say, hey, I want to sell this to this person. And you could do that over and over again and sell to thousands of people, thousands of different types of people with thousands of different types of ad sets. You could do that. But then with iOS 14 came out, and all of a sudden third-party data left. Oh crap! Now my messaging has to be on point, because it's got to go back. We're back. It's funny. Technology has thrown us so far into the future, but marketing and sales has been thrown back into the 19th century.
Yeah.
What worked in the 19th century, the 1900s, the 20th century, the 1900s, for you old folk. What happened? What worked in the 20th century is now what we have to rely on in the 21st post AI space, because now it is message. Now it is true authenticity, not this frou-frou BS, like be real, unique, be specific. There's enough business for everybody. And the people who are trying to grab all of the things, try to sell all the things to all the people, are the ones losing right now, because they're getting lost in all of the AI noise, because people are asking AI to help speak for them. And all AI is doing is taking what's already out there and basically consolidating it into an answer. And so if there's somebody else asking the same question to do the same thing, guess what? You guys are saying the same thing. So when a human's asking for the same stuff, and there's two people who are saying the same thing, they're going, well, that's just noise now. Who's unique? Who's sticking out? Who's the contrarian? That was what worked, back in the 80s and the 90s, even the 60s, 70s, type of thing. We're the folks who are willing to go against the grain, willing to be bold enough to be unique enough to stick out amongst all the noise. And I think
I think part of that also at the time, because my first sales jobs back in the 90s, and for 1989, first time I walked in and was handed a script and a rotary phone,
Right.
and a phone and said, go make clients. And it was either dial or pound the pavement. But
Right.
we had to be unique because there was no internet. You couldn't grab random stuff off the internet and replicate it. You had to figure out something to say to capture people's attention, or you were invisible.
Right.
And so we had to do that. We had to be the funnel. I was the funnel. I was
Yeah.
the script. I was all of it.
Right.
And it's interesting because that is exactly where we're at now.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be so clear about what it is that you're saying and sharing. What's the iteration? I was talking with somebody about this the other day, that step one is you don't want to be extracting from AI. You want to be collaborating with AI. So that level one success is, if somebody mentions your name, can AI spit stuff out about you?
Right.
Then level two is, can you just speak to a problem that AI can say, yep, you should hire Jim. Right? Gain the Edge solves that. And here's a tool that they've been created, right? Or whatever, because it's so much less of going to be, the future of this is not going to be promoting your webpage. It's going to be answering the problems that you have fed it and giving you as the source.
Your content's already there. I mean, in AEO is the new SEO.
Right.
AEO standing for Answer Engine Optimization. So when people are like, oh, I do SEO still. And I'm like, if you're doing SEO still, you'll be out of a job by the end of this year, because Gemini is part of Google. Microsoft has Copilot. And I don't know if anybody's still using Firefox. So Safari, has their AI built into theirs, right? So AI is already part of the search engine. For Google, it's been part of the search engine since like 2016, if I remember correctly, right? It's been around a long time. So if you don't think you're talking to an AI bot when you're using a traditional search engine, you're sadly mistaken, unfortunately. And we build websites now with FAQs. Like, this is a free advice. If you do not have FAQs at the bottom of every one of your service pages, you're missing out on AI learning more about you, because it's answering questions. What is it going to go look for? Who else asked this question? And what's the answer that they got there? And that's all it's doing, is looking for the highest trustworthy people answering the same questions that has been asked of them. It's lazy. There's not enough energy. There's not enough computing power for it to create or find go beyond the easiest answer, right? And so that means it's scraping. So it doesn't have time, energy, or bandwidth to look any deeper than the first opportunities for answers. So if you feed it the questions with the answer right behind it that it's looking for, it's like, oh, that's the same question I'm trying. Oh, you had the answer. Okay, great. Oh, you did too. And now they're going to compare it really quick and go, okay, I got it. Boom, 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 boom. Mixes it all up and gives it back to the user. So if you're not one of those two people, your link's not going to show up. So if you're selling a service,
and like you just said, find an urgent problem for a specific person,
right?
That's going to also tap in, because if you are clear about programming that stuff, feeding that stuff into your AI, so that it will pull it when it says, this is the tool for this person, right? I'm part of an event. I'm speaking at an event. There's like 15 of us speaking. And two of us, I started connecting with this person who's a quality professional, and we literally are doing almost the same thing. So I thought, okay, this is cool. Till we realize we're doing it for completely different people.
That's awesome, though.
Which is important to know.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't think you're going to be useful in my audience, because I don't think any of my audience is on the journey you're trying to take them on. Right. And so we had that conversation. It's like, okay, there's more than just what you do. It's who you do it for.
100%.
And at what stage of readiness, need, and desire are they? And then what is your point of view? Once they come to you, what's your point of view that you're sharing? Like you said, the polarization, the uniqueness, right? We call that the point of view. Your point of view is unique to you.
Right. And also, their point of view is unique to them. So you could have somebody who serves the same people with the same service at a different point of inflection. So say you and I both work with B2B service-based businesses, right? But we work with people that are usually in the 7 and 8 figure space. There are a bunch of people who work only with people that are still in the startup and emerging space. They haven't hit 7 figures. They have a completely different set of problems than a 7-figure. And a 7-figure business has a different set of problems than an 8-figure. 8-figure has a different set of problems than a 9-figure. Right? And we can all be doing the same exact thing for the same type of person, but at a different point in their business life cycle.
So if we pause right here and you're listening to this, you should be like, right now, you should be scrambling no matter what you're doing. If you're walking on the treadmill or whatever, what are all those? How do you answer all those questions? Right. You could like literally not listen to anything else the rest of the day. You got this. It should be game changing for who you're intersecting and how you're serving and how you're solving for them.
Right. And I think that that's really important when you're building your business. So say you have a business that does like you have found your niche, right? You need to be networking with the people who do your work on the before and after your intersection with those types of clients. Because you could feed your future clientele by sending referrals to the people who are working with those companies downstream, and passing on clients that have technically graduated from your expertise to the people upstream, so that they'll refer you down, and the folks that you refer down will refer back up to you when they're ready for you. You can build your own funnel for the same clients with what used to be considered competition, if you just look through the lens of abundance.
Yeah.
Right. Too many times I think
we have, that's why we're working together, is we're serving the same client
Yeah.
double ending them.
Hmm.
But we have a category that serves a step down client who's a sub-million client, which you guys don't.
Hmm.
And so so setting it up so that those people just get handed off to us. But
Yeah.
then we also have, there's like a client below us in that level who's just trying to figure out sales, trying to figure things out. And
They're
then
just trying to
people
figure out
come
their
to us.
offer.
I love them. I
Yes.
just have nothing for them. And so
Right.
it's great to come across other people who are like, oh, we don't serve the kind of clients you do. We're working with people who are just trying to figure it out. And I
Hmm.
say, hallelujah, because now I have a place to send people to come to
Exactly.
us because I can't serve them. I don't have any solutions or tools for them. If they spend
Right.
a week in my world, they'll hate me because I will be heaping down all kinds of things that are designed for a company that's scaling, growing past 1 million or to
Yeah.
8 figures.
Right. And I think like for me, I had a creative agency for a long time, and it was probably the least profitable company I ever owned. And the problem was is that we were trying to be all the things to all the people, right? Nobody too small, nobody too big. And the problem when you have that type of business, and I mean, for a lot of people, they would think we were like from the outside, we looked successful because we had a large, building, like 13,000 square foot building. We had dozens of employees, millions of dollars in revenue. But I mean, it was like pennies on the dollar as far as profit margin goes, right? And the reason is this: when you are trying to be all the things to all the people, your profitability goes down because then you have to have more tools.
Yes.
So I was talking to a gentleman that is in a commercial plumbing, and they do a very specific type of plumbing in commercial space. And people are like, well, plumber's a plumber. Well, no, it depends on what type of equipment you're working on. And there's certain tools for certain types of plumbing that have to happen, right? And so if you're trying to be the guy who fixes the next door neighbor's plumbing versus the guy who's fixing the faucets on NASA's space shuttle, that's a lot of
Yeah.
tools. And the more tools you have, the more complexity. But complexity costs you profit.
Absolutely. And it also removes the ability for you to speak to such an acute,
God,
fine-tuned
yes.
level of expertise because you experience things in fractions of steps that
Yeah,
other people will include in a whole step.
right.
And it's interesting because I'm a whiteboardaholic. I love my whiteboards, both in real and virtual. And for most people, they would say, "Give me a dry erase pen," and I'm like, "No, no, no! I need a dry erase pen that's an Expo, non low odor, non toxic, chisel tip
There
dry
you go.
erase pen because those are the only ones I like, right?
Oh,
Because I,
and
I
then
use enough of them to know how what it does, what it gets, how long it will last, etc.
and I like my fine tips.
Right?
Same use, different users, different tools, different reasons, right? And I think
Exactly.
that, and you ever, here's a good exercise, mind exercise for people. You ever see an ad or maybe even a post that seems to talk directly to you?
Right.
That person has figured out their focus. And you just happen to be passing through that lens. You are now ready for them. Somebody told me once, it's like teachers don't find students. Students find teachers when they're ready to learn what this teacher has to teach. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that as service providers, we do a lot of that. Like we're all like, there's coaches, there's consultants, there's fractionals, there's all these things, but we're always having to teach something. And if the student's not ready to hear that message, they're not going to find you. You could be talking directly to them and they'll see right through you because they're just not ready for it, right?
Yeah.
And only 3% of your total addressable market's even ready to engage with you, even if they need your services.
Exactly. Yet most people spend 90% of their effort trying to find those 3% of people instead of building a platform that allows you to stay in front of those people so that as they become the 3%, they're ready and buy from you.
Right. And that's where people, like I was talking to a very successful commercial contractor 2 days ago, and they're like, we don't really need marketing. We just have business development. I'm like, oh, interesting. So when your business development people talk to somebody and they don't need you quite yet, what happens then? Oh, they just keep touching bases. Interesting. All the while, their competition is marketing to that same person.
Right.
When they come into the window, who's going to get called? Because the chances that you're going to call them on the day that they come
Exactly.
into that window is very slim.
Right. Well, that's why I always talk about the myth of the one call close. There's no such thing. It's the if somebody came into your world and purchased the first time they engaged you, that's not a one call close. That's somebody who's been dealing with a problem for a while,
That's
likely done a
correct.
ton of research, spoken to many people, shopped several of your competitors, and then you just happened to say the thing that filled in the hole that the other person couldn't,
Right.
and you're the person that they bought with. Or what happens, this is what people don't totally underestimate. The person that you called maybe had the problem and wasn't really aware of it until you called. Now,
Hmm.
after you call, they go online and start looking for a solution, and you're not there
Right.
because you haven't planned for that. So
Right.
they find somebody else.
Exactly. I call it the peekaboo effect. A lot of people are like, "Oh, social media doesn't work for me." I'm like, "I hate social media people. I am not here to sell social media marketing. I'll tell you that right now. I'm the last person to do that." But I do know the power of social media because what happens is what Jim just talked about was like you have that conversation regardless of whether you're at in the buying cycle, you had that conversation. Now you're going to go look. If you do not have fresh content, in the first place they're going to look is social media. They're going to look you up on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, wherever your demographic usually hangs out. They're going to go look there and going to look you up. And if you're not there and you're not active, you're suspect. And so they're just peeking in, and then they go away, right? And if they don't see what they want to see right then and there, boom, boom, boom. And that's why a lot of people talk about, like in the B2B space especially, they're like, well, we just don't have the resources and it doesn't pay off. And it's like, you don't know it doesn't pay off because one, you don't track it properly, and two, you don't understand its function. Its function is to support everything else you're doing. It is
Yes.
part of an ecosystem. Like Jim and I, but you and I both agree that marketing needs sales, sales needs marketing. Back when we were getting started, the department was one and the same: marketing, sales, and marketing.
Right.
Now it's a sales department and a marketing department.
Yeah. It used to be one line item on a P&L, sales and marketing.
Exactly, right? Whoever, and this is the thing, there were lazy marketers that said, we don't need sales. And there were arrogant salespeople who said, we don't need marketing. And so they decided, they convinced their C-suite to separate it. And that has hurt so many businesses because you do get people who are like, well, we don't need marketing, or we don't need sales. Our marketing sells for itself. I've heard that. And
Yep.
I'm like, bull crap. Like it doesn't, they do not function in a vacuum. When you're first starting, you're doing market research every time you go out to sell. So you might not think you're doing marketing, quote unquote, marketing, but you're definitely doing marketing research and you're testing message. That's marketing.
Yeah. Uh, I want to go back to what you just said because we call it validation because our experience is I can count on one hand how many clients we've gained in 15 years from someone who saw an ad or listened to a podcast and then showed up and bought. That just doesn't happen as much in
No.
our world. But what does happen all the time is people get introduced to us consistently through podcasts, videos, YouTube's introductions, or whatever. And after they get introduced to us, then they go hunting
Mm-hmm.
and they go, oh, they got 500 videos on here on this channel talking about this stuff. They've got all kinds of posts. They've got articles. They've got blogs. They've got some credibility. We call it validation. They're out there validating us.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go look and they find what they're looking for. And then they come back. And now they want to talk
100%.
about buying.
They call it a client journey for a reason. Right? They're going on a journey. And we talk about, in marketing is that you are problem aware, right? So, I'm sorry, you're symptom aware, right? Then you become problem aware, then solution aware, right? And then your solution provider aware, right?
Right.
And in search, we have intents as well. And so when you have information intent, and that's when you have symptom, and you're like, well, I have this symptom. My throat's a little scratchy. What could that be? And so now they go, oh, you probably have one of these problems. Maybe it's the flu, maybe it's the cold, it's whatever it is, strep throat, right? So now you understand problem aware. Well, how do I solve that? Like what how do I get rid of strep throat? Well, you're going to need this medicine, you're probably going to need this dot 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 dot. Oh, great. Well, where can I get that? Ah, provider aware, right? And so you have that happening in search just as much as you do in chat. They're having that same conversation just faster now.
Right.
And so if you're not now, we used to in SEO for my firms that we worked with, they were small enough to where it's like, hey, we just focused on the commercial because by the time they got there, they've done research was with companies that could afford to give that much information that they couldn't afford them. So they were looking for my clients was an affordable solution to their problems,
Yeah.
right? Because we're in the SMB space, right? And so it was easy for us to go, hey, don't try to compete on these information intents because that's for the Microsofts, that's for the big behemoths, right? What we're looking for is the people who are local and they're looking for the affordable, something they can afford to do, right? Not that they're cheap, it's just that it's a different level, right? And so with that, now we're having to erase that and say, no, you have to be at the beginning just as much as you're at the end. Because a lot of times they don't know what they don't know, so they're going to start asking those information questions and get to the commercial intent.
Right. Because the thing that's a really good point. Because what people I think about is I can't compete with Microsoft at a scale level. Of course, you can't. You don't have $1 billion advertising budget, so you can't just throw the volume of ads out there. However, you can compete on an equal level with the quality of your messaging and making sure you are targeting people. So instead of waiting for them to find your ad, which is what a Microsoft or a Nabisco can afford to do,
Right.
because you have a limited ad budget, you take that same messaging and then you just get real intentional about who you put it in front of.
Exactly.
And then lead them on the journey. Because if I'm trying to solve my problem, I'm not going, unless I'm looking for Microsoft, then I'm not going to find you. But if I'm looking for a solution, whoever states the problem best wins. Whoever can capture the attention best. So that's where you get to compete on equal footing with any company of any size.
Proximity is a new thing again, right? In the 2000 teens, we erased all borders. Now, Google specifically is looking at rewarding those who have a physical address. Now, this is stemming not necessarily for your benefit. It's stemming from all the fraud out there.
Yes.
Because you used to have these websites that would pop up and they would basically they would be able to get the organic traffic and then get the lead and then sell the lead, right? And so they could be in Paraguay for all you cared because Google didn't care about it that as much. But now to validate that, so for me, we're 100% virtual, right? So I can't give them a pin on a map. So my search is harder than when we had a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a lot of businesses out there that are, for all intents and purposes, 100% virtual companies, and they're all running against that problem. And so if you are a localized business, you do have an advantage over your big brothers in the enterprise level of what you do. So, when people talk about like, well, should I have an office space? It's kind of weird because it used to be like location, 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 right? Like I had offices downtown Anchorage, right? Like, we had 40,000 cars going by my sign every single day, right? Like, it was beautiful, right? And we'd have calls. Hey, we saw your sign. We saw your sign. We saw your sign. Guess what? Now that road sign is sitting on Google, and the chat bots, including Google Gemini, are looking at those road signs going, hey, oh, you're in New Jersey? Somebody is answering that question who is in New Jersey. We'll put you guys together.
Something else that we've been focusing on, where actually I have a video that I'll drop. If you're interested in the chat, type in the chat if you want it and I'll share it with you. It's called the Brick and Mortar Boardroom. The whole perspective on this is that every online company should have a physical presence, even if it's just the house you're in. Because I used to have an alarm company. I used to have an ADT dealership, and we used to go door to door with door knocking teams with a sign. And when you got your system, the sign was in the yard. if you find a contractor, somebody comes in and does your pool, their sign is in your front yard for the next year. Why is your sign not in your front yard?
Right.
So that as people drive by, they know, hey, these guys can help me with marketing, because I guarantee you someone's going to drive by your house who wants marketing, but they don't even know you exist.
Right.
And so all they know is you're the guy with the barking dog, right? Instead,
Right.
they need to know that you're a professional. And then if you're online, if you're in person, then you have to be able to also find a way to have a digital presence that will empower you better. But the localized business is just something it's literally low hanging fruit
Mm-hmm.
that is already there that you're not
Mm-hmm.
doing anything about.
Right.
Go
Exactly.
get, this is when you go back to old school, back to the 20th century, like you were saying,
Yeah.
go get the signs,
The little
stick
yard
them in the
sign.
ground,
Yeah.
stick them in the ground and say,
Yep.
need more sales, call this number. How many people, we got a 4-way stop down at that, a half of 200 yards from our house that thousands of cars go through every day. Why is our sign not on that corner?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Oh shoot, we have a roundabout with we live kind of like halfway between two big cities, and so we have a little area where the gas station is and a little like parking shop type of thing. And there's a second roundabout as you go through. I have probably hired 3 of the home services businesses that had those little yard signs on my way out from that gas station.
Yeah.
100%. It still works. Lumpy mail. Like people like
Yes.
mail itself, like everybody's, really they're looking at it. Cold email is really dying. It's a dying breed. I think as many people who think that they can still work it, it works when it does, and it works for a little bit and then it doesn't. I mean, that's just the way it is. But now mail, like direct mail, that's old school, and it's coming back. It has been back for years, actually. It's been an unsung hero for many, many companies. It's just a matter of, knowing who you're mailing to, and now you can get really specific on who you're mailing to. Lumpy mail, even in the B2B space. I've done campaigns for people where we have mailed iPads to CEOs of medium-sized companies. We had 12. We sent 12 out. The guy had enough for 12 iPads, and he made video on the iPad. So when it opened up, it automatically said, "Thank you, Mr. Blah, 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 blah. I just want to give you, this is a gift to you for taking the 15 seconds to hear me say blah, 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 blah." He only had 1 out of 12 come back unopened.
Yeah.
He got 3 clients
We
out
did
of it.
very similar, but several years ago when the Kindle Fire, it was like it went over like kind of a flood. And
Yeah.
so I saw a bunch of them. They're like $50 on Amazon. So we bought like 20 of them and did exactly that.
Yeah.
We loaded message and then
Yeah.
put a video on it. Cause here's the beautiful part that bypasses the gatekeeper because it
Yeah.
always gets to the intended
Exactly.
user. And then they open it, they see it, and we tell them right in it. As soon as you're done with this, give this to your kid or to your receptionist because you
Yeah.
know that they don't want it. But
Yeah.
it was a great vehicle to deliver a message on.
Yeah. And I think the point that we're both making here is that those are authentic, well thought out options. They're what other people are not willing to do. They're not willing to put the work in it takes to do the research, then take the time to do the creative, then package it properly, and then make sure it gets delivered to the right people. Right. And I think that that's where, especially in the SME space right here, the small to medium enterprise space. And when we talk about SMBs, a lot of people forget like SMB is all the way up to about 50 million in revenue, right? You don't even get into for most industries, mid-market, lower mid-market until 50 to 100 million. So, and that right there is a 0.0 something fraction of a percent of the businesses out there. Only 2% of us or 3% of us get past, a million, and then 1% get past 10 million. So the majority of us are SMBs. And so
And by the government standards,
Yeah.
they would call us micro company. You're a
and
micro
and
company
and
if
the
you're less than
micros, right?
$50
The
million.
sub sevens are micros, right? And so you have micros to sub 7, you got emerging at 7, you've got lower mid market all the way up to 50 million, some industries up to 100 million. Then you got mid market. I mean, it gets big fast before you even consider yourself large, right? And most of the small businesses that I've worked with about 1,200 companies over the last 21 years. And I've worked with big companies, I've worked with small companies. And the thing is this, so many people want to work with these big companies and they put all their energy in that space only to strike out. Versus how about and I go to baseball. If you're Babe Ruth and you're a home run hitter, right? You have a high strikeout percentage because you're always swinging for the fences. Versus like who was the first base guy? A really good first baseman, and I can't think of his name, but he was a base runner. Base runners are their batting averages through the roof, right? I want to say like Babe Ruth was like a .18, like an 180 or something like that. So like less than 1 out of 5 times he actually got on base or had a home run, right?
Right.
Where you have other guys, they're like they don't hit home runs, but they're on base a third of the time. Every third time they get to bat, they're on a base. As a small business, that's what you should be looking for always. Put that in, like we always talk about, like the dartboard. If you're looking for the triple 20, it's a very small space, and there's a lot of area around that can be missed, and then you might get a 1 or a 5. Where if you go to the bullseye, you got a higher pointage, point percentage, but you have a lot more options of not missing the actual dartboard. So I don't know how I got on that, but that's my tangent, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, totally. And it's the beauty of it is we always talk about the bullseye as the draw, right? The person at the center, because it's easy to hit the 25s because there's a lot of them, but they may not be your ideal client. However, if you're always targeting the bullseye, then you're closer to the 100, and you might hit the 100, but all the 25s are listening because they all want to be the 100. So you're always drawing them towards the center. But if you're messaging outward, you never attract the 100. The bullseye never wants to be on the outside.
Right, right.
So you got to always target the center. And then when you start getting more credibility, more online presence, and because you're building this credibility and validation, then those bigger companies that want to work with you, they see you've got a footprint and a track record and credibility, and then that gives them more desire to want to come to your establishment.
I like what you're talking about there as far as credibility. And it goes back to what we were talking about in focus. When you start serving the same client over and over, one, you get better, and two, you get a track record. The better your track record, the easier it is to attract the same type of client. When you're all over the place and somebody says, "Oh, have you worked with X?" And you're like, "Well, no, we haven't, but we've worked with Y." Now you're always back and forth. You're always looking, like you said, you're all over the board, right? And if you're going to your ideal client, a lot of people says, "Well, I can serve all of these people." That's great, but which one's your most profitable? I was talking to a lawyer on Monday this week, and we were asking him, like, who do you serve? He's like, "Well, we can serve any business that has IP issues." I'm like, "Okay, so who do you like to work with?" "Well, we like to work with businesses that are creating things." "Well, what type of things are they creating?" So we had to like really start getting down. And by the time we got done, he's like, "Oh," I said, "What's your most profitable clients to work with?" Because usually business owners like to work with profitable clients. And he's like, "Oh, well, those people are," and you saw his face light up and all. He's like, "That's who you serve." And if you just talk to that person, that hypothetical person, over and over and over again, you will start getting that person in your door. And this is the crazy thing. The people your pain in the butt clients will start leaving because they're not hearing their song anymore. And as you're attracting these high profit clients through the front door, your low profit, high bandwidth soul sucking people will go out the back door. And all of a sudden you're like, "Wow, I don't have more clients, but I sure have a lot more profit." That's good marketing.
Amen. Yeah, well said. And that's like what we were talking earlier about, people on the podcast,
Yeah.
this panel that I'm on, the speaking panel, because as I'm sharing with some of these people, they're like, "Yeah, your clients are too big. We don't serve those people." Right. Which is fantastic because we don't have to go through all the back and forth to discover each other. And they're like, "No, that your clients are on a different trajectory than the clients I serve."
I got stuck on a stage that I was told that had, a good percentage of the type of people we serve. And then once I saw who the other speakers were, I'm like, no, there was 20, like it was like 15 speakers as well. And there was only two of us that I knew were talking to the same type of people. I'm like, no, the audience isn't here. And you need to know that with your messaging. You were just saying it about 5-10 minutes ago, where it's like, you need to put the right message in front of the right people. When you go back to the focus, right? So you're putting the solution to that very specific problem in front of a very specific person with that problem, right? And when you're speaking, that's another thing. People get on stage, they think, oh, see, I'm on stage, there's at least one person I can help. I'm like, how much energy did you just spend, travel, prep, a whole 9 yards to talk to one person?
Yeah. Yeah, all on point. So I'm hoping this is relevant to, type in the chat what's coming up for you here. Again, we're just inviting you into the live raw conversation. This will all get edited and uploaded and published in a couple of months, but you're here now because this is relevant conversation. And I'd love to hear what you're taking away from this. And before we wrap, I want to get you to talk a little bit about content distribution because we're focusing on an 80-20 perspective, actually really more leaning into a 90-10 because we've been 90-10, the opposite for a long time. We create a bunch of content and then we barely distribute it. And we are now, we're done with that. We have so much content we've created in the last few years. We're going to start keep creating more, but we're going to be focusing on 10% creation and 90% distribution, which is part of the reason this podcast is going live. We're already going live. Zero reason why not to share the conversation with you while before we produce it, because the content's great. Who cares if the production level isn't there yet? But after it gets edited and produced, it will be distributed. But what we'll do after this is done today, our team will go in and we'll start sharing this on other platforms just to say, hey, welcome to a conversation that we're having, right? So we'll be able to use it. We'll turn clips into it. That way we can use those clips to then promote the episode that is published and edited later, and then run ads to it because your audience, we're teaching here, guys, Mike's audience is exactly who we want to work with.
Right.
So we're going to take this interview from people who will follow him and want to hear his expertise, and we're going to run ads to it so that we can then start attracting people who follow him to our platform because the people who follow him are people we want to work with. This is all all we did was create one episode.
Right. Yeah, it's what's called a content flywheel. And it's not anything new, but with AI nowadays, it's actually a lot easier to do because you can extrapolate things quickly from one piece. So this conversation right here, we're going to talk for almost an hour. That is an eternity worth of content for an AI bot to start spinning stuff. And AI bots, if you put it into what we call a walled garden, so say a project in Claude or a project in ChatGPT or maybe Notebook LM, those are walled gardens. Notebook LM is the most walled of all of them, by the way. So when you put it in there and then start asking it questions, hey, what points did we make on XYZ? What did Buzz think about this that Jim didn't agree with? So now we're finding contrarian conversations that we can now make posts from. You can take this same conversation, we're going to make a podcast out of it, then you can turn around, you're going to make a newsletter out of it. And you can ask AI, like, what is relevant to our clients, our clientele, because you've already trained it on who your clientele is, right? That what are parts of this conversation that would be good for a newsletter, ... And now you're just asking it what to write about and giving you an outline to write it. So now you're not necessarily having it write for you, but you sure as heck are getting about 60-70% of what you need to write it faster. Right. You could even have a copywriter now write in your voice because you have all of that. Because I can go back as a copywriter and say, how would Jim say XYZ? Well, Jim would say it this way. ... Okay, great. Now I can talk like Jim as a human copywriter and not sound like another 10,000 people using ChatGPT to create their social media posts, right? Exactly. And so that leverage is huge. And I think that you guys are definitely spot on in pushing your organic message versus ads. You're pushing the organic message, the helpful message in front of people using the money versus just trying to sell. Everybody's trying to get down to the bottom line when we just got talking about for 20 minutes, people have to go through the process of understanding their symptoms, understanding their problem, understanding the solution, and then start looking for that. And so if you're part of that journey, you have a higher chance when they're in that 3% window.
Amen. Amen. It's good stuff, man. We can be talking a lot, which is why we are collaborating because we have so much in common and really jam on this
Oh
topic.
yeah. You want to pick my brain and bring it on? Let's do it.
Yeah. So, what do you want people to be thinking about most urgently with all the stuff that we shared? What's the takeaway? What's your thought?
So for the people that we serve, my biggest push in 2026 is helping founders become founder-led firms become founder free. Too many of us own a job. It's just it's the nature of the beast. We all started as operators and we built systems around us instead of void us, right? And so I just wrote a book called Build a Founder Free Revenue Engine. And you can check that out at our website at buzzworthystrategies.com. Just go down to the bottom of the homepage and you can get a free copy. And we're talking about that. Like, what does it take to get you, the founder, the successful founder, out of being the main gear of your revenue engine, right? And because I mean, both of us know we've done it. We're all we have all gone through random acts of marketing. That's how it's just our ability to try new things and experiment has then created this house, what we unknowingly now we know now, but we didn't know when we built it, a house of cards. And we end up in what we call the 50-50 marketing paradox, where 50% of your marketing is working. You just don't know what 50% is, right? And so now it's like, okay, so let's go ahead and find out which cards are actually worth keeping, right? And then let's actually build a foundation around what's working that doesn't include you, and build the systems that then feed your salespeople, right? And that's where Jim comes in. Where it's like, okay, now that we've got marketing feeding the right type of people with the right type of problems for your company, now we can move on. Now Jim can put a team around you that will sell for you as well, because most of you who are in this space are both the best, or if not only salesperson, and probably still the CMO of your own company. And we need to get you out of that, because otherwise you will never own a company. You'll own a job, and you'll never truly feel the pleasure of entrepreneurial freedom.
Yes, and if you've got nothing else from today, get that, because I'm here to tell you that it is absolutely possible. You're not required. You just are embedded, and we need to remove that.
100%. I have a saying as of late, since I finished the book. It says, my job is to make you a useless owner,
Yes.
because a useful owner has a useless company. Nobody wants to buy a company that still requires the owner to make money.
Amen. We'll wrap on that note, mic drop, and let's take it to another room here, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Make sure you drop in your takeaway here. Anything you want to know about Mike, make sure you reach out. If you don't have access to him, drop his name in the chat and tell me. Well, we'll connect you with him. We'll make sure that you get there. And thank you, as always, for being here when you could be any place else on the planet. We appreciate you trusting us to be part of your success team. Go make sales. Go drive some impact. Make a difference. We'll see you on the next one.